Last April in 2023, I had the really cool opportunity to work with Mike from Flashing Badger Painting. He was kind enough to reach out and want to do a little collab where he challenged me to make something using some minis that he painted. He had sent me over some orcs and a lone space marine and said just to make something with them, to which I did and felt I was happy with the way it came out, but I had always known I really wanted to reuse the figures again just because they were too good to just sit for that one piece, and I felt I could still tell some more stories with them. While I was waiting for him to send me over the minis, I was brainstorming many ideas. One of the first things that came to mind was a spaceship interior. I ultimately shelved that idea for a later date, which happens to be today. So I spent a good afternoon looking up on Thingiverse and Cults, just finding cool spaceship interior kind of things. Again, I'm not too well versed on 40k lore, but I found stuff that looked cool enough and printed out a whole bunch of it. I had found these cool little pipe collections and I had been printing a couple of them and just playing around with their shapes and kind of just ultimately finding what I was happy with. I was really just trying to embrace the theme of last video of just not thinking too much and kind of just starting to go, build, try to think in the moment, figure out where things need to go, and just see what kind of felt right. I wanted to add some conduit, some electrical kind of cabling, and I've known from watching Boylai that guitar strings are perfect for this. They've got that cool little texture that an armored, ribbed, shielded cable would have. Then finished it off with a styrene rod, and then some plastic straws just for some generic pipes underneath the floor. Happy with the shapes and textures, I then went about giving it a coat of black primer. I then made a mixture of AK's Extreme Metal series aluminum and added a little bit of black to it just to help tone it down a little bit, which didn't really work too much because that extreme metal really is extreme and kind of overpowers everything. It definitely is too shiny at this point, but I want to bring it down later using some other methods. To add a little variation to the base coat, I wanted to add a little bit of grime, so I used a darker brown color. I think this was like a German camouflagey color, and just stippled that on using a sponge. And before I was going to tone everything down with some grime, I needed to pick out some little pieces here and there, so I just found some stuff that I wanted to highlight using some reds and some silvery kind of colors. Coming in then with a brass color for the flanges. I don't really know if that makes too much sense, but just roll with it. I'm mainly focusing on picking out certain elements that I want to show off a little bit. I felt now was a good time to add some rust, so I went through several different ranges of rusty kind of colors, and again, sponge chipped them on. With the rusty spots mostly picked out, I then went over it using some AK Enamel's light rust wash. The pipes have these really cool little details that I really wanted to help show off, so I focused mainly on those, and then some on the floor to help blend in the rusty to non-rusty parts. While I was painting the hallway, I was also painting this bulkhead door. I felt the door could be used as a great way of tying in a little extra color, and since the marine that Mike sent over was a blood angel, I wanted to connect the two by making the door a little bit red, which honestly is kind of difficult to do considering how red the rust tones are, but I was happy with the way it turned out. And then I tried my hand at painting some more glass. I haven't done this in a long time, and I felt like this was a good little test piece for it. So for this, I just chose a blue color, and then progressively got lighter, focusing on half moon shapes in one of the upper corners. with each half crescent getting smaller and smaller as I got lighter and lighter, and ultimately getting to almost a pure white or a pure off-white color, focusing on almost just a dot on the top right hand corner, with a subsequent dot in the lower left hand corner. I felt that the corners needed to be a little bit darker, so I went in with a violet or purplish ink and focused that mainly in the deepest part, just to help give it a little bit more depth. And then for the finishing touches, I went over it with some of that light rust wash from AK again. Overall, I was pretty happy with the way the door turned out, and I thought it added just the right amount of color to help break it up a little bit. With the door in place, I then gave it a generous coat of a matte varnish. That matte varnish really helped bring down the shine of that extreme metal, and it was now time to further bring it down with some of that slimy grime. In this case, I think it was actually winter streaking grime, which I've fallen in love with over the past year and a half. I really love the grungy green tones that it has, and it really falls into that Grimdark aesthetic. So I absolutely slathered the stuff everywhere, and then used some mineral spirits to help blend it and fade it out here and there. It was then time to glue the figures in place. Again, massive thanks to Mike for painting these last year. He's a super cool dude. This whole build is actually part of his every other month friendly building competition he runs on his Discord. And when I mean friendly, I mean the winner is chosen out of a hat or the spin of a wheel. And it's more about just creating a community of like-minded people who enjoy building and showing off what they make with each other. And once the minis were in place, it was done. I felt like it needed a finishing touch, and I think the lights just did it for me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. This was a fun little project, jumping back in the 40K universe. I'm currently hard at work at my next project. Give you a little hint. I had to buy 3 gallons of something, and I don't think I have enough. Hopefully that doesn't give it away too much. So yeah, if you guys like what you saw and you want to see some more, click here. And if not, I'll catch you in the next one.